The letter was already yellow when I found it. It was tucked inside an old cookbook on the highest shelf in my mother's kitchen. The book hadn't been opened in years. The pages smelled like dust and time. The letter fell out quietly, landing on the counter like it had been waiting for me. There was no envelope, just a single page, folded carefully, written in handwriting I knew too well. My mother's. She had been gone for 6 months. Heart failure, sudden, no warning. One phone call in the middle of the night that split my life into before and after. I stood there holding the letter, already feeling like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. Some things are private even after death. Some silences feel earned. But curiosity has its own gravity. The letter began without greeting. I don't know if I'll ever send this. That was all it took. I sat down at the kitchen table. The same table where she used to drink her coffee every morning, staring out the window like she was waiting for someone who never arrived. She wrote about a man named Daniel. Not my father. Daniel was someone she met in her early 20s, before marriage, before children, before life narrowed into routines and responsibilities. She described him as patient, quiet, the kind of person who listened fully before responding. They planned a future together. Then she found out she was pregnant. The child was mine. She never told Daniel. She wrote that fear guided her decisions more than love ever did. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of starting over. Fear of choosing wrong. She married my father instead. A good man. A reliable man. A man who gave me his last name and his time and never suspected the truth. Daniel moved away. Built a life somewhere else. Or maybe he didn't. She wasn't sure. She stopped herself from finding out. The letter ended with a line that felt heavier than the rest. If you ever read this, I hope you are braver than I was. I folded the letter and put it back where I found it. Then I stood there for a long time, staring at the wall, replaying moments from my childhood that suddenly felt unstable. My father's face. My mother's distance. The way she sometimes looked at me like she was apologizing without words. I tried to forget the letter. I failed. 2 weeks later, I went back to the cookbook. Inside the back cover, written lightly in pencil, was a name and a city. Daniel Brooks, Madison, Wisconsin. I told myself I just wanted closure, that I wasn't expecting anything, that I would drive there, see the place, maybe ask around, then leave. I was lying to myself. The drive took 10 hours. I spent most of it arguing silently with someone who wasn't there. My mother. My father. The version of myself who still believed family histories were simple. The address led me to a small house near a lake. Wind chimes on the porch. A bicycle leaned against the railing. I sat in the car for a full minute before knocking. When the door opened, the man who stood there looked older than I expected. Thinner. His hair mostly gray. But his eyes stopped me. They were mine. He didn't ask who I was. He just stared, then quietly said, "You look like her." Inside, his house was modest, clean, lived in. No photographs on the walls, but boxes stacked neatly along one side of the living room. I told him everything. The letter, the cookbook, the fear. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded slowly, like a puzzle piece finally fit. She told me she wasn't ready, he said. Then she stopped calling. He never married. Never had children. not because he was waiting, but because life moved forward without asking permission. He asked about my mother, about my childhood, about whom I became. I realized then that he didn't feel like a stranger. He felt like a sentence that was never finished. Before I left, he handed me something, another letter, unsent. He wrote it the year I was born. It said he hoped she was happy, that he trusted her choices, that if she ever changed her mind, he would listen. She never did. I drove home at night, the road empty, my thoughts louder than the engine. I understood something then that took me decades to learn. Silence doesn't erase truth. It just waits. I visit Daniel now, not as a replacement, not as a correction, just as a connection that was delayed, not denied. I still love the man who raised me. That will never change. But now I understand my mother better too. Fear doesn't make people cruel. It makes them quiet, and sometimes that quiet echoes for generations.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos.